What is going on, everybody? Nick Costa here, and welcome to this lesson video on the Triple Paradiddle. If you have been following the Drum Essential section of my website, this is video number 6 of that series. So in this video, you are going to learn how to play the Triple Paradiddle. You will then have a couple exercises where you get to apply it to your playing, and the lesson will wrap up showing you some examples on how to incorporate it in your drum set playing. I'm really excited to dive into this with all of you, so let's get started. So if you have been following the Drum Essentials off of my website, you have already gone over how to play both the single and the double paradiddle. You know to go from a single to double paradiddle, you add an additional para to the beginning of that rudiment. Thus, you now have 2 paras in the beginning for a double paradiddle. You're going to follow that same concept for the triple paradiddle. Take a double paradiddle, add an additional para to it, so now you have 3, and you can now play a triple paradiddle. So that means that if you are playing starting with your right hand, you now have para, para, paradiddle. You're starting with your left hand, you then have para, para, paradiddle. Since you are just getting started with this rudiment, it is totally fine to play those 3 accents as you're playing through your triple paradiddles. So in this first exercise, you are going to play a right-handed triple paradiddle, give yourself a measure of rest, and then play a left-handed triple paradiddle, followed by another measure of rest. I'm going to turn the click on at 80 BPM. Play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... So now moving on to exercise number 2. You are still going to play the triple paradiddle in an 8th note subdivision. The difference this time is that you're only going to give yourself 2 beats of rest in between each one. So you're going to start off with that right-handed triple paradiddle, 2 beats of rest, followed by a left-handed triple paradiddle, another 2 beats of rest. You will then play a left-handed triple paradiddle, followed by 2 beats of rest, and then a right-handed triple paradiddle, followed by 2 beats of rest. If you feel comfortable enough with this sticking pattern, see if you can only play that 1 accent at the very beginning. Otherwise, stick to playing the 3 accents. Turning that click back on at 80 BPM, play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... Moving on to exercise number 3. This time around, you are playing the triple paradiddle in a 16th note subdivision. So you are going to start off with a right-handed triple paradiddle, give yourself 2 beats of rest for the rest of that measure, and then go and play a left-handed triple paradiddle, followed by an additional 2 beats of rest. Keeping that click at 80 BPM, play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... Moving on to exercise number 4. This is where you're going to start incorporating the triple paradiddle into your playing. For those first 2 measures, you are playing the rhythm 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 end, 4 end. For those 16th notes on the first 2 beats, play a triple paradiddle. For the 8th notes on 3 and 4 end, you have a left, right, left, right. For the second measure, it's the same rhythm, but you're starting with your left hand. So a left-handed triple paradiddle, followed by right, left for the 3 and 4 end. Now for measures 3 and 4, you are playing the rhythm 1 and 2 and 3 E enda, 4 E enda. For this third measure, you are alternating back and forth between your right and your left hand for those 8th notes, 1 and 2 end. You will then play a triple paradiddle for 3 E enda, 4 E enda. Now for that 4th measure, it's the same thing but starting with the left hand. So you have 1 and 2 and triple paradiddle. Click's going back on. Play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... Let's move on to my favorite exercise of this whole lesson, exercise number 5. This is another 4-bar exercise. Each measure, however, your rhythm is slightly different. But to make it easier, think about the fact that you are playing 2 eighth notes followed by a triple paradiddle. So that means for this very first measure, you have 2 eighth notes, right and left, followed by a right-handed triple paradiddle. For beat 4, you then have a left and a right. That means starting on the second measure, you have a triple paradiddle, followed by a right-left on beat 3, and then you will start a triple paradiddle with the right hand on beat 4. You then will play a left-right on beat 2 of the 4th measure, followed by a triple paradiddle starting on beat 3 of that 4th measure. So that means you have 1 and paradiddle, 4 and paradiddle, 3 and paradiddle, 2 and paradiddle. Now, once you play through this exercise, make sure you give yourself a measure of rest to reset. That's going to help you memorize when you are starting and ending this exercise. Once you play through it twice that way, then see if you can play this exercise 2 times in a row without stopping. Let's turn that click back on. Play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... So time for exercise number 6. This is a 4-bar exercise. So for that first measure, you are going to play 2 triple paradiddles back to back without stopping. You are playing a right-handed triple paradiddle, followed by a left-handed triple paradiddle. You are then going to give yourself 1 measure of rest. Third measure, you are then playing a left-handed triple paradiddle, followed by a right-handed triple paradiddle. You are then going to give yourself an additional measure of rest. Clicks going back on. Play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... Moving on to exercise number 7. This exercise is a 2-bar exercise. In both measures, you are playing the rhythm 1E and a 2 and 3E and a 4E and a. For the first 2 beats of each measure, 1E and a 2 and, you are alternating your hands. For the 16th notes on beats 3 and 4, you are playing a triple paradiddle. So that means for this first measure, you are playing 1E and a 2 and paradiddle. Second measure, you start with your left hand. 1E and a 2 and paradiddle. Let's play it together. 1, 2, ready, and... So now that you have played through those 7 exercises, make sure that you are able to transition back and forth between starting with your right and your left hand with those triple paradiddles. This is a perfect time in the lesson to pause the video and work on any of those exercises we went over to make sure they are nice and fluid. Again, speed is not the end game here, it's consistency and accuracy. So you want to make sure you're nice and relaxed while you are playing to make that consistency and accuracy happen. So feel free to pause the video here, and once you're able to transition back and forth, hit continue. Okay, it is time for our challenge. Just like every other challenge, you have a rhythm that is played for 2 measures. That way you get the opportunity to start with both the right hand and the left hand. In this case, this challenge is 8 measures long. For the first 2 measures, you are playing the rhythm. 1, 2, 3E enda, 4E enda. So with this first measure, you are playing a right-handed flam, followed by a left-handed flam for beats 1 and 2. You then play a triple paradiddle for beats 3 and 4. Second measure, you do the same thing, but you start with a left-handed flam, followed by a right-handed flam, and then a triple paradiddle. Here's what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3E enda, 4E enda, 1, 2, 3E enda, 4E enda. Now for measures 3 and 4, you are playing the rhythm 1 and 2E enda, 3E enda, 4E enda. That means for measure number 3, you are starting off with 2 right hands. You then play a left-handed single paradiddle, followed by a right-handed triple paradiddle. For the fourth measure, you're starting with the left hand. So you have 2 left-handed taps, followed by a right-handed single paradiddle, and then a left-handed triple paradiddle. Here's what measures 3 and 4 sound like. 1 and 2E enda, 3E enda, 4E enda, 1 and 2E enda, 3E enda, 4E enda. Now for measures 5 through 8, you are actually playing a 2-measure loop 2 times in a row. So for measures 5 and 6, you are playing the rhythm 1 and 2E enda, 3E, 4E enda, 1E enda, 2 and 3E enda, 4E enda. So for this 5th measure, those 8th notes on beat 1, you have a right and a left hand. You are then going to play a double paradiddle. Starting on beat 4, you then are going to play a triple paradiddle. You are then playing a left-right for those 8th notes on beat 2. Then you are playing a left-handed, followed by a right-handed paradiddle for beats 3 and 4. Here's what measures 5 and 6 sound like. 1 and 2E enda, 3E, 4E enda, 1E enda, 2 and 3E enda, 4E enda. Now for measures 7 and 8, you are doing the same thing but starting with the left hand. So you have a left and a right for the 8th notes, followed by a left-handed double paradiddle. You are then starting a left-handed triple paradiddle on beat 4, play a right-left on beat 2, followed by a right-handed paradiddle and a left-handed paradiddle on beats 3 and 4. Here's what measures 7 and 8 sound like. 1 and 2E enda, 3E, 4E enda, 1E enda, 2 and 3E enda, 4E enda. So now that you have gone through all of those different sections, it's time to piece it together. Now this is a challenge, right? So let's put all of this together. Let's up that click to 135 BPM. Yep, that's right, 135 BPM, and give this a shot. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and... So with that challenge, if you are noticing that you are tensing up, if you feel like you are getting any kind of strains in your arms, your wrists, your fingers, or your hands, probably just a little bit too fast at this point. Make sure if you are playing with a metronome that you slow it down and you make sure you stay relaxed while you are playing. You will notice that if you keep revisiting this exercise and continue to practice it week after week, that you will get more comfortable with it. And then when you increase the tempo, you should still be able to stay relaxed while you are playing. So now that we've played through those 7 exercises and our challenge, think about a few ways that you could play the triple paradiddle on the drum set. This is the part of the lesson where you get to improve on your improvisational and musicianship skills. So think about a few ways that maybe you would incorporate a triple paradiddle into maybe a groove or possibly a fill. You may even think about a few different ways to incorporate additional rudiments as well. The one thing you want to make sure you do is that you continue to stay musical. The last thing you want to do, however, is just start piecing a bunch of rudiments together. Make sure that there is some kind of context and musicality to it. So although I want you to be creative and come up with some on your own, here are a few ideas just to get you started. So to recap, in this lesson, you learned how to play the triple paradiddle. You then played through a few different exercises that allowed you to incorporate it into your playing. And then finally, you saw some examples on how to incorporate it into your drum set playing. As always, if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to me on my website and I'll be happy to help out in any way that I can. If you enjoyed this lesson, make sure you go to my Drum Essentials section of my website, where there's a lesson just like this on all 40 of the drum rudiments, as well as a technique fundamental and a drum set fundamental lesson. Thank you so much for checking out this lesson. Hopefully you've learned something out of it, and until next time, see you later.